You just realized you're pregnant. It's 50,000 years ago. There's no test, no doctor, no calendar on the wall. There's just your body, quietly changing, and a knowledge older than language telling you that everything is about to be different. What happens next will involve your entire tribe, because the moment an ancient woman became pregnant, she didn't just begin a personal journey. She triggered a system, a hidden, sophisticated, life or death support network that humans had been refining for hundreds of thousands of years, and almost all of it has been forgotten. This is one of the great lost chapters of the human story, not because it didn't matter, but because the people who held this knowledge rarely got to write it down. By the end of this video, I'll show you why an entire half of human experience nearly vanished from history, and the people alive today who still carry the last unbroken thread of it. But first, the most basic question. In a world with no tests and no science, how did an ancient human even know she was pregnant? The answer is that they were watching the body far more closely than we do. A modern woman might take a test the moment her period is late. An ancient woman had no test, but she had something we've largely lost. She and the older women around her were experts in reading the human body. A missed cycle, a change in the breasts, a new sensitivity to certain smells, the first waves of nausea. To us, these are symptoms. To them, they were a language. And here's the part that matters. She often wasn't the first to know. In a small hunter-gatherer band, the experienced women, the ones who had given birth many times, were watching. They noticed the changes sometimes before the young woman fully understood them herself. Pregnancy, in an ancient tribe, was not a private secret. It was a community event from almost the very first sign. And the instant it was recognized, something remarkable happened. The entire group's behavior began to shift. This is the heart of how ancient humans handled pregnancy, and anthropologists have a name for it: cooperative breeding. It means that raising and protecting the next generation was never the job of one woman alone. It was the project of the whole band, and it didn't start at birth. It started the moment she was known to be carrying a child. The pregnant woman was not pushed aside. She was moved to the center. Other women, especially the older ones, immediately began adjusting. They quietly took on more of her heavy labor. They brought her extra food. They started sharing the knowledge, the rules, the warnings, the techniques that had been passed down, woman to woman, for thousands of generations. This wasn't kindness for its own sake. This was survival strategy, because the tribe understood something in their bones that we sometimes forget. A pregnant woman and the child inside her were the future of the entire group. Protecting her was protecting everyone, and she needed protecting because human pregnancy is genuinely dangerous. Here's a rewatch fact to hold on to. Human birth is one of the most dangerous in the entire animal kingdom. And the reason is a brutal evolutionary trade-off. Our ancestors stood upright, which narrowed the pelvis. At the same time, our brains exploded in size. The result is a baby with an enormous head trying to pass through a tight opening. Across human history, by some estimates, the lifetime risk of a woman dying from childbirth-related causes was staggering. In some populations, as high as 1 in 100 births, stacked across many pregnancies in a single life. The stakes could not have been higher, and so ancient humans built knowledge to fight back. Knowledge that began the moment pregnancy started. The first weapon was food. To us, pregnancy cravings are a punchline. To ancient humans, they may have been wisdom written into the body. A sudden hunger for certain foods, a sudden disgust for others. These weren't random. Aversions to bitter or strong-smelling foods, which often peak in early pregnancy, may have protected the vulnerable embryo from toxins and spoiled meat during its most fragile stage. The body was steering her away from danger, and the tribe steered too. Across cultures studied by anthropologists, pregnancy comes wrapped in food rules. Certain foods were given to expectant mothers, rich, fatty, nutrient-dense foods that the group would prioritize for her. Other foods were forbidden, marked as dangerous for the unborn child. Some of these taboos were superstition, but many encoded real, hard-won observation about what helped and what harmed. Then there were the plants. This is one of the most underrated pieces of ancient knowledge we have. Researchers studying indigenous cultures have identified over 50 different plant species used during pregnancy and childbirth. Plants containing compounds with genuine pharmacological effects. Plants to ease nausea. Plants to reduce the risk of bleeding. plants believed to strengthen the mother or ease the coming labor. Ancient humans did not have laboratories. They had something slower and, in its own way, just as powerful. Hundreds of thousands of years of trial and error, with the results remembered and passed down. A plant that helped was remembered. A plant that harmed was remembered even harder. This was a pharmacy written not on paper but in the living memory of the women who held it. So the pregnant woman was watched, fed, protected, and medicated by a system older than farming. But the real test was still coming, and the tribe knew it was coming because they could count. Ancient humans understood the rhythm of pregnancy. They knew, roughly, how long it lasted. They watched the belly grow, felt the baby move, and read the signs of the approaching end. And as the time neared, the preparation began. This is where the system reached its peak. Because for an ancient tribe, a birth was not a moment of panic. It was a plan they had been preparing for weeks. A specific place was often chosen ahead of time, away from the main camp, but close enough to be safe. Somewhere with soft ground, access to water, and shelter. Archaeologists have found what appear to be ancient birthing areas, small clearings with unusual concentrations of tools and the burned remains of plants. And when labor came, the woman was almost never left with just one helper. Several women would surround her, each with a role. One acted as the midwife, managing the delivery itself, feeling for the baby's position. Another supported the mother's body as she squatted or knelt, because she did not lie on her back. Lying flat is a modern invention. Ancient women used gravity, staying upright to help the baby descend. Others kept water warm, prepared plants, tended the fire, and watched the dark for predators drawn by the sounds of labor. And this brings us to the most astonishing part of the whole story. Because these ancient women, with no science and no technology, understood things about birth that modern medicine forgot, and then had to rediscover thousands of years later. Consider this. When the baby was born, it was placed immediately on the mother's chest, skin to skin. Hospitals today promote this as a cutting-edge practice for bonding and regulating the newborn. Ancient midwives were doing it 50,000 years ago. Consider the umbilical cord. For decades, modern hospitals cut it instantly. Then, in recent years, science discovered that waiting, letting the cord pulse until the blood has finished flowing into the baby, leads to healthier infants. They called it delayed cord clamping, a modern breakthrough. Ancient midwives, in many cultures, already knew to wait. Consider emotional support. A landmark analysis of over 15,000 births found that women who had continuous personal support from another woman during labor had shorter labors, fewer complications, and far better experiences. Modern medicine now calls this a doula and treats it as a discovery. Ancient humans called it Tuesday. It was simply how birth was always done, surrounded by trusted women who had known you your entire life. Again and again, the pattern is the same. The things we are now rediscovering as the right way to bring a child into the world are the things ancient humans never stopped doing until we interrupted them. And that word, interrupted, is the key to the mystery I promised you at the start. The mystery of why so much of this vanished. Here is the answer. Almost all of this knowledge, the diagnosis, the food rules, the plants, the birthing techniques, the support systems, was held by women. And it was passed down the way women's knowledge usually was. Not in writing, but by voice, by demonstration, by standing beside an older woman through birth after birth until you knew. For most of history, this knowledge was never written down. When writing did arrive, it was controlled by others, and the deep expertise of midwives was rarely considered worth recording. It was treated as ordinary, women's business, beneath history, and so an entire branch of human knowledge, arguably one of the most important since it kept our species alive, was left almost invisible in the record. Then came something worse than neglect. When colonization and industrialization tore through traditional cultures, the chains of oral knowledge that had survived for tens of thousands of years could be broken in a single generation. An old woman dies, and a library that took 10,000 years to build is simply gone. That is the missing chapter. Not lost because it was unimportant, lost because of who held it. But here is why this isn't a story of pure loss, because the thread was never completely cut. In the forests of Central Africa, anthropologists working with the Aka people have documented birth practices that appear to stretch back to our shared ancestors. The positioning, the plant medicines, the wall of supportive women, these practices mirror the archaeological evidence from sites tens of thousands of years old. The Aka, and peoples like them, represent something extraordinary, a living, unbroken chain of knowledge that may run all the way back through the entire history of our species. When you look at them, you are not looking at the past. You are looking at the surviving end of a thread that ancient humans first began to spin 250,000 years ago. So, what did ancient humans do when someone got pregnant? They noticed, often before she did. They rearranged the whole group around her. They fed her, protected her, and dosed her with a pharmacy of plants refined over thousands of years. They counted down the months. And when the moment came, they caught her, not with technology, but with each other. They turned the most dangerous moment in a human life into a community act. And in doing so, they built the first medical knowledge our species ever had. Long before doctors, long before hospitals, long before history bothered to write any of it down. Now go back to the very beginning. You, 50,000 years ago, just realizing you're pregnant, frightened, alone with the news. Except you were never actually alone. That's the whole point. The instant the tribe knew, a system switched on around you that had been kept alive by countless women before you, each one passing the knowledge forward so that you and the child inside you might live. You are here because that system worked. Every single person watching this is the descendant of a pregnancy that an ancient community decided to protect. That unbroken chain of women catching each other in the most vulnerable moment of their lives runs directly to you. So here's my question. Knowing what we've lost, the plants, the positions, the wall of trusted hands, do you think modern birth gained more than it gave up? Or did we trade something away that we're only now realizing we needed? Tell me honestly in the comments. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one. Pay attention. You are the end of a very long thread.